It was late afternoon when I glanced at the clock on my office wall, 5:45 p.m. The city skyline through the large windows of our corporate headquarters had begun transforming into hues of soft amber and purple, an artistic blend that often reminded me why I still worked here after nearly 2 decades. At 54, I'd settled comfortably into my role as senior project manager at the marketing firm. I had earned respect and built a reputation, but lately I'd begun to wonder if my best years were behind me. Recently divorced, with my daughter away at college, my days felt routine and unremarkable. That particular Friday, everyone had begun filtering out early, eager to start their weekend. I was preparing to follow suit when I heard footsteps approach my open office door. "Heading out already, Karen?" The voice was unmistakable, deep yet gentle, with an easy confidence. It belonged to Robert, my boss, a few years my senior at 59. Tall, slightly graying hair, and a presence that effortlessly commanded attention. He was admired throughout the company, not just for his leadership, but for his genuine care for the people around him. "Oh, hi, Robert," I said, turning from my desk with a warm smile. "Just wrapping up. It's Friday after all." He leaned casually against my doorway, arms folded comfortably. "I don't suppose you'd be interested in joining me tonight? There's an art gallery opening downtown. An old friend of mine is showcasing. My plans changed last minute, and I've got an extra ticket." For a split second, I hesitated. In the many years we'd worked together, our relationship had remained professionally cordial, with only occasional friendly banter. The idea of stepping out with him socially felt strangely thrilling and a bit intimidating. Robert seemed to sense my hesitation, his eyes softening. "Purely platonic, of course. Just 2 colleagues enjoying art. You always mentioned you're fond of paintings." I laughed lightly, relaxing. "You remembered that?" "Of course." He smiled warmly, stepping forward slightly. "I remember a lot about our conversations." I felt an unexpected flutter in my chest, but quickly brushed it aside, convincing myself it was just excitement about a new experience. "Well, in that case, I'd love to join you." "Great," he said, looking genuinely pleased. "I'll swing by your place around 7. "Perfect," I replied, gathering my purse and coat. As he walked away, I found myself staring after him, suddenly aware of the warmth in my cheeks and the quickening beat of my heart. By the time evening came, I changed into something appropriate but comfortable, a dark green dress accented with a simple necklace. Standing before the mirror, I smoothed out the fabric, realizing it had been ages since I'd dressed up for anyone, let alone an outing with someone like Robert. At precisely 7, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, I was momentarily speechless. Robert stood there dressed immaculately in a navy blazer, tailored slacks, and a light blue shirt that enhanced his kind eyes. "You look wonderful, Karen," he said softly, an approving smile lighting his face. "Thank you," I replied, feeling warmth creep into my cheeks once again. "You're not looking too shabby yourself." We drove comfortably through the city, engaging in easy conversation, discovering shared interests and humor that, despite years of professional interactions, had somehow remained hidden beneath layers of corporate formality. When we arrived at the gallery, soft jazz music floated from within. The atmosphere was sophisticated yet welcoming. Warm lighting, the gentle clinking of wine glasses, and soft murmurs of appreciation from attendees. Robert guided me gently inside, placing his hand briefly on the small of my back, a subtle yet electrifying gesture. We moved through the exhibition, admiring paintings, sculptures, and art pieces. It wasn't long before we became engrossed in discussions about the meanings behind the various pieces, occasionally pausing for refreshments. Eventually, we stopped before a painting that depicted two silhouetted figures embracing beneath a moonlit sky, bathed in shades of midnight blues and silvers. There was something poignant about it, intimate yet mysterious. Robert stood quietly beside me, his shoulder close enough that I felt its warmth. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he murmured, his voice almost contemplative. "Yes," I replied softly, sensing an undercurrent of something deeper in his tone. "Very. You know," he began slowly, carefully, his eyes still on the painting, "I've spent my whole life chasing success, but looking at something like this makes me realize that it's intimacy, connection. That's what matters." His words resonated deeply, stirring feelings inside me that I'd long dismissed. "I couldn't agree more," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. He turned slowly, his eyes meeting mine with surprising vulnerability. "I've watched you over the years, Karen. You're strong, independent, incredibly talented, but also warm, compassionate. It's rare." My heart quickened again, and suddenly I was acutely aware of the small distance between us. "That's kind of you to say," I managed softly, unsure of what else to express in that moment. "Perhaps tonight was more than just a fortunate coincidence," Robert said softly, his eyes searching mine gently, asking for permission more than anything. "Perhaps," I echoed, feeling breathless, yet utterly comfortable in his presence. Our conversation was interrupted gently by the gallery owner announcing the end of the evening. Neither of us seemed eager to break the intimacy of that moment, but the announcement gently brought reality back into focus. The ride home was quieter, contemplative, each of us lost in thought. As Robert pulled up to my driveway, he turned to face me, his expression warm yet thoughtful. "Karen," he began, his voice tender, careful. "Whatever happens next, I want you to know how much I respect you." I reached out impulsively, my hand briefly touching his. "I know," I whispered, sincere, "and I appreciate it." He squeezed my hand gently, his eyes holding mine. "Tonight was special." "It was," I admitted, smiling softly. "Unexpectedly special." He nodded, his expression gentle yet hopeful. "Good night, Karen." "Good night, Robert," I replied softly, stepping out of the car into the cool night air. As I watched him drive away, my heart was full of anticipation, uncertainty, and a profound sense of possibility. That night, sleep came slowly, my thoughts filled with memories of soft touches, meaningful glances, and Robert's words echoing quietly in my mind. Little did I know, our evening together was just the beginning of something truly unforgettable, something I never could have imagined. Morning sunlight seeped through the curtains, nudging me awake gently. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment from the previous night. The warmth in Robert's eyes, the tenderness in his voice, the surprising depth of connection we'd experienced. Despite my best intentions, I couldn't stop thinking about him. A text notification broke the quiet. Curious, I reached over and picked up my phone. My heart jumped when I saw Robert's name. "Good morning, Karen. I hope you slept well. Thank you again for last night. I enjoyed every moment." A smile bloomed on my lips as warmth flooded my chest. I replied quickly, my fingers trembling slightly. "Good morning, Robert. I had a wonderful time, too. Thank you for the invitation. It was truly special." I hit send and placed the phone down, wondering what would happen next. My mind buzzed with questions. Was this something we should pursue? Was it wise? And yet, as the minutes ticked by, none of that seemed as important as how genuine our connection felt. Throughout the weekend, we exchanged casual messages, careful yet sincere, each message deepening our newfound intimacy. By Monday morning, anticipation mingled with nervousness as I entered the office building, wondering how our interactions would change. Robert was already in his office when I passed by. Seeing me, he looked up immediately, his eyes warm, inviting me inside. "Good morning, Karen," he greeted softly, standing as I entered. "You look lovely today." I blushed slightly, feeling more self-conscious than I had in years. "Thank you," I replied warmly. "Did you have a good weekend?" He smiled genuinely. "The best I've had in a long time, thanks to you." The simplicity and sincerity of his words stirred my heart. We stood quietly, the gentle hum of the office outside fading into irrelevance. Slowly, Robert closed the distance between us, careful and respectful, his voice lower, nearly a whisper. "I hope I'm not being presumptuous, Karen, but I'd very much like to see you again. Not just as colleagues, but as something more." My pulse quickened, but I held his gaze steadily, appreciating his directness and honesty. After a moment, I reached out, lightly touching his hand. "I'd like that very much, Robert," I said softly, sincerity coloring every word. His face brightened noticeably, relief and warmth evident in his expression. "Dinner tonight, then? Somewhere quiet?" "Perfect," I agreed, excitement fluttering softly in my chest. Throughout the day, subtle, shared glances and knowing smiles passed between us, amplifying the quiet thrill we both seemed to feel. The anticipation only heightened when Robert picked me up that evening, taking us to a quiet Italian restaurant tucked away downtown. Soft candlelight illuminated our table, casting gentle shadows across Robert's thoughtful expression, deepening the intimate atmosphere. Our conversation flowed effortlessly. Robert opened up about his life beyond the firm, the loneliness he felt after losing his wife several years ago, his hopes, fears, and dreams for the future. I listened intently, touched by his vulnerability, finding comfort in sharing my own truths. The sense of loss after my marriage had dissolved, and my quiet yearning for a meaningful connection. "It's strange, isn't it?" Robert said thoughtfully, swirling his glass of wine. "We've spent years working side by side, yet I feel I've just discovered you this past weekend." I nodded slowly, smiling softly. Sometimes the best connections come when you least expect them. Maybe we weren't ready until now. He reached across the table, his fingers gently brushing mine. "I think you're right." Dinner ended far too quickly, yet neither of us was ready to say goodbye. Robert suggested we take a walk through the city under the gentle glow of streetlights, beneath a clear sky adorned with stars. Strolling slowly, the cool night breeze wrapped around us gently, comforting rather than chilling. Our pace gradually slowed until we found ourselves in a quiet, dimly lit park overlooking the glittering city lights. "Karen," Robert began softly, pausing in front of me, "I want you to know how deeply I value this, us. Your trust means everything." Warmth blossomed in my heart as I held his gaze. "And you've earned that trust, Robert, more than you know." Without thinking, I stepped closer, the gentle pull between us irresistible. Robert responded naturally, his arms wrapping carefully around me. For a moment, we simply stood there, holding each other beneath the quiet stars, the world around us slipping away. Finally, he leaned back slightly, his fingers gently tracing the edge of my cheek, his expression soft, questioning, yet filled with profound respect. "May I?" he whispered gently. My breath caught in my throat, but the trust between us was unbreakable now. I nodded slowly, offering him permission, but more than that, inviting him into my heart. When his lips touched mine, the tenderness was breathtaking. The gentle, soft kiss spoke volumes of mutual respect, attraction, and an unspoken promise. As we slowly separated, our eyes locked, both of us aware something important had shifted between us, a boundary crossed, willingly and with certainty. Robert exhaled softly, his smile gentle. That was even better than I'd imagined. I laughed softly, joyfully, my cheeks flushed with happiness. For me too. We stood quietly for another moment, savoring the closeness, knowing there was no rush, no urgency beyond simply cherishing the moment. Eventually, Robert guided me back toward his car, his hand entwined gently with mine, both of us aware we had begun a journey from which there was no turning back. When Robert pulled up outside my home, the air in the car felt charged yet peaceful. He turned toward me, his expression open and sincere. I want this to be meaningful for both of us, Karen, he said earnestly, his voice gentle yet firm. If at any moment you're uncomfortable or unsure. Robert, I interrupted softly, gently touching his cheek, reassuring him. I've never been more certain about anything in a very long time. He smiled deeply, warmth filling his eyes again. Me too. I leaned over impulsively, giving him another soft kiss, savoring the gentle warmth. As I stepped out into the cool night air, my heart felt full of newfound hope, affection, and an undeniable spark that ignited something within me I thought I'd long since lost. As Robert drove away, I lingered on my doorstep, reflecting on how much had changed in just a few days. There was uncertainty ahead. There always was. But the future no longer felt lonely. It felt rich with possibilities, challenges, and a companionship that had emerged from an unexpected but profoundly genuine place. Little did I know, however, that our journey was just beginning, and the unforgettable turn our relationship was about to take would soon become something neither of us could ever have imagined. The next several weeks flew by in a blur of newfound intimacy and quiet joy. Robert and I maintained professionalism in the office, mindful of boundaries, yet behind the closed doors of evening, we allowed our relationship to blossom in ways I had never anticipated. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen, heard, and cherished. Yet beneath the surface of happiness, I couldn't help but feel a faint anxiety, a question that loomed quietly, impossible to ignore. How would we handle this newfound relationship openly at work? Were we prepared for how our colleagues might react? My thoughts became particularly heavy one afternoon as I sat in my office, distractedly typing away at a report. A soft knock at the door made me glance up. Robert stood there, holding 2 coffees, his smile gentle yet perceptive. "You look deep in thought," he observed, stepping inside and placing a coffee carefully on my desk. "Everything all right?" I sighed softly, grateful for his presence, but aware I couldn't avoid this conversation any longer. "Robert, I've been thinking, maybe we should talk about where we go from here. Professionally, I mean?" He nodded, not surprised, yet patient and understanding. "You're right. I think we've both avoided it because we're afraid it might complicate things." "Exactly," I said, relieved he put it into words. "The last thing I want is for us, to negatively impact either of our careers or how others see us." Robert took a slow sip of coffee, considering carefully. "Karen, I won't deny it could complicate things, but at this stage in life, I'm more concerned with happiness, honesty, and integrity. If this relationship continues, and I genuinely hope it does, we'll need to be transparent eventually." I admired his candor, relieved we were on the same page. "You're right. I just want us both to feel comfortable and respected." He smiled gently. "We'll figure this out together. Trust me." "I do," I replied softly, feeling warmth bloom inside me again. But just as we shared that quiet moment, my office phone rang unexpectedly. Answering swiftly, I heard Emily, Robert's assistant, sounding slightly nervous on the other end. "Karen, could you come upstairs quickly?" "Robert, too. Mr. Daniels from corporate headquarters just arrived unexpectedly. He'd like to speak with both of you." Robert and I exchanged an anxious glance, instantly sensing this was no ordinary visit. Mr. Daniels was the senior vice president, notorious for being meticulous and no-nonsense. "We'll be right up," I replied steadily, masking the sudden unease I felt. Minutes later, we entered the sleek conference room upstairs, where Mr. Daniels awaited us. His stern expression softened slightly as he greeted us both cordially. "Robert, Karen, good to see you. Please, take a seat," he instructed firmly yet politely. We complied, tension humming softly in the air between us. "I'll get straight to the point," Daniels began calmly, folding his hands together. "We received an anonymous tip recently. Someone raised concerns regarding your professional relationship. Specifically, they claimed it's become personal." My heart sank instantly. Robert straightened in his seat, composed yet clearly concerned. Daniels held up his hand reassuringly. "Let me be clear. Our company does not forbid relationships between senior staff. However, as you both hold significant positions of influence, there is understandable concern regarding favoritism or potential conflicts of interest." Robert exhaled slowly, nodding in understanding. "We appreciate your honesty, Mr. Daniels. Karen and I planned to disclose this ourselves soon. I assure you, professionalism is, and always has been, our highest priority." Mr. Daniels appeared satisfied but not entirely convinced. "I'm glad to hear that. However, given the circumstances, I must inform you both of a significant upcoming opportunity, one that complicates things somewhat." Robert and I exchanged confused glances, uncertainty evident in our eyes. Daniels cleared his throat softly. "Robert, the board recently approved your nomination as regional vice president. It's a substantial promotion that would relocate you to our San Francisco office within 3 months. Your leadership has long been admired, and you were unanimously chosen." My heart skipped painfully. I glanced quickly at Robert, noting the surprise and turmoil flashing briefly across his face before he composed himself. "That's unexpected," Robert admitted quietly, glancing toward me thoughtfully. "May I have some time to consider?" "Of course," Daniel said gently. "But understand, we need your decision quickly. If you accept, you'll begin transitioning within a month. I felt it only fair to let you both know personally, given the circumstances." After the meeting concluded and Mr. Daniels left, Robert and I sat silently, absorbing the sudden turn of events. "Robert," I began quietly, sensing his internal struggle. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You deserve it." He reached over impulsively, gently clasping my hand. "Karen, the thought of leaving you, especially now, is unbearable." I squeezed his hand reassuringly, my heart aching yet determined. "We'll figure it out. We can still make things work, even long distance." Robert's expression softened with gratitude, yet I could still see deep uncertainty behind his eyes. "Let's talk tonight, away from all of this." I nodded gently, agreeing wholeheartedly. That evening, sitting side by side in Robert's cozy living room, we spoke openly about our fears, hopes, and the possibilities ahead. Eventually, Robert sighed deeply, his expression vulnerable and sincere. "Karen, there's something you need to know before we discuss San Francisco further." I sat up slightly, concerned yet curious. "What is it?" He exhaled slowly, composing himself. "Several years ago, I received another offer, similar to this one, shortly after my wife passed. I declined it because the idea of starting fresh elsewhere felt overwhelming without her. But this time, it feels different. Because of you." Surprised, I touched his hand softly. "Robert." "Wait," he said gently, continuing. "Karen, if I accept this promotion, I don't want to do it alone. I'd want you to consider coming with me, if that's something you could imagine." The intensity of his words stunned me. For a moment, I could hardly speak. "Move to San Francisco with you?" "Yes," he said, earnest, hopeful yet gentle. "Only if it feels right to you. But I needed you to know. I don't want us to live apart." My mind spun with possibilities, concerns, excitement, and uncertainty all at once. San Francisco was beautiful, but it would mean leaving everything familiar behind. Yet, looking into Robert's gentle eyes, I knew my answer. "Robert," I whispered gently, smiling softly. "If this relationship has taught me anything, it's that sometimes the biggest risks lead to the most rewarding experiences." His face brightened with relief and joy, his smile genuine and affectionate. "So, is that a yes?" I nodded slowly, my heart fluttering with a newfound courage. "Yes, I'd love to join you." We leaned into each other, sharing a deep, meaningful kiss, a promise, a reassurance, and a silent vow of commitment. Though the future was uncertain, our bond was stronger than ever, forged by respect, sincerity, and the quiet bravery of two people choosing happiness despite uncertainty. Little did we know, however, that our journey still held surprises neither of us had foreseen. Over the next several weeks, our lives transformed completely. Robert officially accepted the position of regional vice president, and we gradually began preparations for our move to San Francisco. Though there were moments of nostalgia, even sadness, as I prepared to leave behind my long-established life, there was also an exhilarating sense of adventure. A new chapter at 54, filled with possibilities I'd never dared imagine. Our colleagues were surprised when they heard the news, but overwhelmingly supportive. Despite initial whispers and curiosity, Robert and I were relieved to see genuine warmth from those who truly mattered. With each passing day, any lingering doubts about our decision melted away, replaced by a certainty and peace that felt both comforting and liberating. On the evening before our departure, Robert arranged a quiet dinner at his home, a private farewell filled with reflection, warmth, and the gentle anticipation of what lay ahead. Sitting across from each other, candlelight flickering softly between us, Robert lifted his wine glass, his expression both serious and tender. "Karen," he began gently, his voice rich with sincerity, "tomorrow begins a journey I never imagined I'd make again. Honestly, if anyone had told me a year ago that I'd be moving to California, let alone sharing this experience with someone as remarkable as you, I wouldn't have believed it." I smiled softly, touched by his words, warmth blossoming deeply within me. "I feel the same way. It's still surreal." He nodded thoughtfully. Yet here we are, two people who thought their best days might be behind them, now starting fresh, embracing something new. His eyes sparkled gently, his smile tender as he leaned forward. "Karen, thank you for reminding me it's never too late for happiness, for love." My heart quickened gently as I reached out, touching his hand softly across the table. "Robert, I feel exactly the same. You've opened my heart again, showed me that new chapters can still be written." He squeezed my hand gently, his smile widening. "Then let's make sure this next chapter is our best one yet." "Agreed," I whispered warmly. The next morning, as we boarded the plane bound for San Francisco, I felt a rush of emotions, nervousness mixed with excitement, hope tempered with gratitude. Throughout the flight, Robert's calming presence steadied my nerves. As the plane descended toward our new city, sunlight glinting across the bay, I felt my heart fill with quiet joy and anticipation. Over the following weeks, we settled into our new home, a charming townhouse overlooking San Francisco's iconic hills. Robert quickly immersed himself in his new role, thriving professionally, while I explored the city, savoring the richness of this vibrant new life. Though we faced inevitable challenges adjusting to our new surroundings, our bond only deepened as we navigated them together. Months passed swiftly, and with each passing day, our lives became richer, fuller, deeply intertwined. Yet there was still one moment, one unforgettable night, that defined just how profoundly our lives had changed. It happened on a cool spring evening, nearly a year after our move. Robert had asked me to meet him at our favorite spot overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, a beautiful, secluded vista point. I arrived just before sunset, finding Robert standing near the edge, gazing thoughtfully toward the horizon. He turned, smiling warmly as I approached, reaching out and gently drawing me close. We stood quietly, watching as the sky transformed into breathtaking shades of pink, gold, and violet. "Karen," Robert began softly, his voice warm, vulnerable. "There's something I've wanted to ask you for quite some time." My pulse quickened slightly as I turned toward him, sensing the significance in his tone. "What is it?" He inhaled slowly, gathering courage, his eyes steady yet tender. "When we started this journey, I knew I loved you deeply. But I never imagined just how much my feelings would grow. How much I'd come to realize you're not just the woman I love, but the person I want beside me for the rest of my life." I felt tears well gently in my eyes, my heart swelling with emotion. "Robert." He took my hands gently, holding them securely. "Karen, would you do me the extraordinary honor of marrying me? Let's share this adventure forever." My breath caught in my throat, joy and surprise rushing through me. My heart raced, but the answer was immediate, certain, and true. "Yes," I whispered softly, tears of joy spilling down my cheeks. "Yes, Robert, I'd love to marry you." His face lit up with profound happiness as he drew me into his arms, holding me tightly. We kissed tenderly beneath the twilight sky, sealing our commitment, celebrating this remarkable love that neither of us had ever anticipated. A few months later, we married quietly in a small ceremony on a beach overlooking the Pacific. Surrounded by close friends and family, we exchanged heartfelt vows, each word a testament to the unexpected and beautiful journey we'd shared. Standing beside Robert, hand in hand beneath the gentle warmth of the sun, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come, from coworkers navigating careful professional boundaries to committed partners embarking on an extraordinary new chapter. As we celebrated that evening beneath strings of delicate lights, laughter, warmth, and music surrounding us, Robert leaned close, whispering softly in my ear. "Karen, did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" I laughed softly, gently touching his face, savoring the warmth in his eyes. "Not in a million years, but that's exactly why it's so beautiful." He kissed me tenderly, our hearts now forever intertwined, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. Now, several years later, as I share this story, reflecting on how one unexpected night transformed my life, I find myself deeply grateful for taking the risk, for following my heart, and for trusting in possibilities even when I couldn't predict the outcome. Because ultimately, life's greatest adventures rarely arrive when we expect them. They'd often surprise us when we've settled comfortably into routine, reminding us there's always more to discover, to experience, and to cherish. As Robert and I sit side by side tonight, holding hands beneath a sky scattered with countless stars, I lean against his shoulder, smiling softly. "Robert," I whisper gently, contentment filling my heart. "Thank you." He smiles warmly, kissing my forehead softly. For what, my love? For taking a chance, I reply quietly, gazing up at the stars thoughtfully. For reminding me it's never too late to live an extraordinary life. He squeezes my hand lovingly, whispering softly, always together.